If you're right-handed, take your little right hand. If you're left-handed, do it with the left hand. Okay, take your little hand, look at it. I want you to roll it up into a tight little fist and punch yourself in the fucking dick because you're a loser. Okay.
What if they don't have a dick?
Welcome to Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your hostess, and as always, I'm joined by my frisky little co-host, Lynn.
Really? Frisky? Now we're going frisky? Okay. Nope. I'm not. I haven't said my line. This is ridiculous. It's crazy. I feel like I'm babysitting, except I'm not getting paid, which is basically like my marriage.
And joining us again, the podcaster holding all the aces, Dangerous Dave. Hey, how's it going? And last but not least, the podcaster that likes the dark side of the beat, Lisa.
Hi, guys.
Lisa
I can already see Dylan is horrified.
It's not by you, and it's not by Dave.
This week, we will be discussing the 1985 adventure movie, The Goonies, written by Steven Spielberg and Chris Columbus right after he discovered America. Directed by Richard Donner, starring Sean Astin, Josh Brolin, Jeff Cohen, Corey Feldman, Kerry Green, Martha Plimpton, and Ki Hu Kwan. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, then come back and listen to the podcast. Okay, so this is the time in the show where I say, oh, we do this podcast because we love it and we don't ask anything from you. We don't put commercials in it and we don't do a Patreon. We just ask that you hit the like button, especially if you're listening on YouTube. But every fucking week, nobody hits the fucking like button, okay? We got 100 views in 5 days on YouTube and no likes. So you're the kind of people you just show up, you get your free fucking little podcast, you love it, you listen to it every week at work, gets you through the day, makes you feel good. You're holding your fucking little device. You hit play, right? You go on YouTube, you hit play. What's right next to play? Thumbs up. All you gotta do is just push it. It's free, right? But no, you don't do it. So we're gonna try something different today. Don't hit the button. Do me a favor. Don't hit the button, okay? I want you to do something else. We're gonna do it right now together, okay? If you're right-handed, take your little right hand. If you're left-handed, do it with the left hand. Okay, take your little hand, look at it. I want you to roll it up into a tight little fist and punch yourself in the fucking dick because you're a loser. Okay.
What if they don't have a dick?
Then punch yourself in your mound, okay? Do whatever you got to do. or you could punch the like button and we could just get by this, okay? So there you go. That's my rant.
Kids movie today.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Sorry. Okay. Dave was a little late. I had too much iced coffee. I would like to welcome our new listeners. You know who you are. The app still doesn't work, but I see 4 more countries, so you know who you are. Welcome. Hit the like button on YouTube. Okay. Let's do some opening thoughts on this one. I will get us started. So, The Goonies. Of course, I've seen this movie countless times, just like everybody. Did I cry at the end this time like a big baby? Yes. My second thought was, would this movie appeal to kids today? I'm not sure it would. I mean, when I was a kid, my friends and I, we went on adventures. We would ride our BMX bikes as far as we could from our houses. We'd stay out as late as we could without getting in trouble. You know, streetlights are on, time to start heading home. I'm not sure kids today could relate with the subject matter. I mean, kids even go outside and play anymore? Everything's done online. Gaming, social media, fucking Uber Eats. They don't move out of their parents' house. They don't get jobs. So, I don't know. Made me grateful that I'm a latchkey kid from the 80s, right?
Get off my lawn.
You're on fucking fire.
Get off my lawn. Dude, we have this joke because I am like the fucking progressive commercial guy. Like, dude, so I go on these little rants, right? And the joke now is because I was told Lynn, at night when it's dim in my room, if I cover one of my eyes, I can't even see in the corner because my vision's so bad at night. So now when I go on like my rants, like about how people drive too fast, she just puts her hand over her eye and goes, shut up. So Lynn, did you ever see the fucking movie?
Okay. Yes, I have seen the Goonies. Holy shit. I got to be honest with you. I have not watched it, especially not straight through, in a really long time. And my thing is not so much like, does it stand up, but like, it's fucking dark, man. I forgot how dark it is. Holy shit. Like, there's some fucking stuff in here. I was like, what am I watching? Like, I forgot this happened. So yeah, we'll get into it, but yeah, I have seen it before. Yes.
Dave, have you ever watched the Goonies before preparing for the podcast?
I have many times. I love this movie. I saw it in the theater. I was the right age to be captured by it. But, back in the day, we had a kids movie throwing out mild curse words all over the place, large amounts of skeleton dead bodies. You're not going to get this kind of movie today. It would be so much more sanitized now. But yes, I've seen it many times.
Well, the funny thing is, one of the funny things that people talk about is that, so there was the version that I watched, and then there was a version that almost everybody else has seen, and it's the one they would show like on TV after school, and they took everything out. So a lot of people go back to watch this movie and they're like, this isn't what I remember when I was a kid. This is way racier. So interesting. Lisa, you picked the movie, so I'm guessing you have seen the Goonies.
Of course, I've seen the movie. I think I saw this. I made my dad take me to the theater maybe 5 times.
Oh,
to see
shit.
this. And I saw it a few more times with my friends when we were hanging out at the mall. So I saw it a lot in the theater. When my dad bought me my very first VCR, he actually bought this as one of the cassettes and Splash so that I would remember. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's probably in the number 1 slot for kids movies, although Neverending Story is kind of tied with Goonies. Another dark kids movie, by the way, Neverending Story.
Dark.
Oh my gosh, right? My dad was a movie buff, and he really liked James Bond and old westerns, and the James Bond references with Data in this movie, I think, was why he wanted to keep coming back and seeing it. But yeah, one of my favorites.
I think my take from that is that you had a great dad, because my dad never bought me a VCR
He was
Goonies.
awesome. Yeah, I was very lucky.
Okay. That makes one of us. Okay.
Everything's dark today. My goodness.
Okay, it's therapy time. Okay, let's do the box office with a budget of $19 million and a box office gross of $125 million. This was considered a box office windfall for the studio. Let me give you guys a quick synopsis. A group of young misfits called the Goonies discover an ancient map and set out on an adventure to find the legendary pirates' long lost treasure. There you go. That's why I don't read the script anymore. All right, let's do some facts on this one. I'll get us started. Robert Davi and Joe Pantaleone, who played the Fratelli brothers. Fun fact, we have a bakery down the street from our house called Fratelli's that makes wonderful desserts. Who played the Fratelli brothers had a genuine dislike for each other. So when they showed up for the audition, they were chirping at each other, and director Richard Donner saw this and instantly cast them in the roles, as he said it was the perfect on-screen chemistry that he was looking for. I'm guessing these guys are probably going out for a lot of like the mob roles back in the day. You know, I mean, they both wound up in The Sopranos, right?
I don't know.
Believe so. I know Joey Pants did.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe, but they were both kind of going out for all the same stuff back around that time. So when they showed up, there was definitely some spit going between them. I like that. That's what I got. Lisa, I know you got a bunch of facts. What do you got on this?
Oh, let's let Dave go first.
Okay, Dave, what do you got on this?
All right. Number 1, Jeff Cohen Chunk got the chicken pox after he secured the role. He showed up to set anyway, afraid that they would have replaced him. He has now become a Hollywood entertainment lawyer and counts his co-star, who plays Data, as one of his clients.
Nice.
For many of the kids in the cast, it is their feature film debut, including Sean Astin and Josh Brolin. The jail in the movie that held Jake Fratelli, played by Robert Davi, who also happens to be a professionally trained opera singer, is actually located in Astoria, Oregon. It was formerly known as the Old Clatsop County Jail and is now the Oregon Film Museum, which opened on the 25th anniversary of the Goonies film.
Fun fact, I lived in Astoria, Oregon. There you go.
Ah, nice.
Well, it's actually Corvallis, but
They have Goonies stuff as well as exhibits related to other films that were made in Oregon, like Kindergarten Cop, Free Willy, The Shining, and Animal House. Visit them at OregonFilmMuseum.com. The Walsh's house is a real house in Astoria located at 368 38th Street. The road leading to the home was closed to tours in 2015. The former owners were famously cranky about movie fans stopping by and taking pictures. But as of January 2023, the house has new owners that seem more visitor friendly.
Nice. I wonder if they kept that Ruberg device in the front yard to open the gate. Dylan, did you have anything before Lisa unloads?
Yeah, just one. John Matusak, who played Sloth. He was also a football player. I believe
Yes.
he played for the Raiders maybe at some point.
Yes, he did.
And he died at 38 of a heart attack. And they
No,
were saying that it was like, what did you say?
It was an accidental drug overdose.
Yeah, basically they were saying that he had the flu, but he was also taking painkillers, and yeah, it just got him. It unfortunately caused a cardiac arrest, which is sad to hear. But yeah, they picked him because he's so tall, and the misshapen eye that's kind of sliding to one side was robotically controlled.
Oh, cool.
And he had to blink in time with it, so he'd be taking cues on when to blink the eye that you could see, so that it would be at the same time. And the kids were told not to get him wet because it would short out the eye.
Oh,
but they're kids, so they would splash him and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought that was kind of a funny thing.
Damn
also,
kids.
the pirate ship. Nobody had seen the pirate ship. It was built. It's an actual pirate ship. They built that whole thing, and the kids hadn't seen it until that scene. And when they saw it, Josh Brolin said, "Holy shit!" So they had to cut that out because he was so surprised by it.
When the actor that got the role as Chunk went in, he was actually going for the role of Mouth. And rudely, Donner and fucking Spielberg were like, well, you sound like a Mouth, but you look like a Chunk. So he got Chunk. That sounds poor kid. Lisa, what do you got?
Okay, well, the late Corey Haim auditioned for the role of Mouth alongside of Corey Feldman. It was actually the first time they ever met each other. Of course, they have a very long career together after that in The Lost Boys and License to Drive and 6 more major movies and countless straight-to-video movies that you can see on their IMDb. In the later time, Feldman actually auditioned for the role of Les Anderson in License to Drive and lost it to Haim. So they were trading back and forth roles like throughout their career, I guess you could say.
Nice.
The soundtrack, the song Goonies Are Good Enough. Everyone knows this. Cyndi Lauper's actually in the movie.
Yeah.
But there is a strange song on the soundtrack that nobody seems to remember. It's called Eight Arms to Hold You, which is a reference to the octopus that was cut out of the film, thank goodness. If you ever see the footage of what the octopus looked like and what the scene was that they cut, we're going to be very thankful that this ended up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. I actually saw it on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube, and it's not good.
Yeah,
it's not good.
It's really terrible. And I'll tell you what, that line at the end when Data says, "Oh, the octopus was very scary." When I was a kid, I was like, "Are they just lying to make that sound more dangerous?"
Right.
Or was that supposed to be Chunk's line because he always exaggerated stories? Like, what was the mistake there? I caught that as a kid. I had no idea that they actually had a scene that was cut out.
Like, what fucking octopus?
Crazy. So when the truffle shuffle scene happened, they actually had to clear the set because Chunk was very conscious of his body, and it was probably the end of the body shaming era as we remember it. It was funny back then. It's not really funny anymore, but they did clear the set for him, and he was able to do that kind of in a bit of privacy, which I thought was an interesting fact.
Yeah.
The ship, the kids didn't get to see the ship, but an interesting thing about the ship is that a lot of its parts were recycled and made part of the Pirates of the Caribbean ship at Disneyland, which was being refurbished at the time.
That's so
So
cool.
a lot of people see it and they're like, hey, it looks like the Pirates of the Caribbean ship in Anaheim. No, that it was. That's why. So there's a rumor that the skull of One-Eyed Willie was a real skull, which belonged to a man named Raoul Wu. at the time, a few years earlier, of course, with Poltergeist, there were real skeletons used in the pool scene. So this is thought to be maybe possibly true, although there's no confirmation of it being true.
Yeah, we
Right.
actually we did that. We did Poltergeist for the podcast.
Oh, you did?
And yeah, they
Excellent.
were actually real skeletons because it was cheaper than fucking
Yeah.
making them. That's
Right,
crazy.
which is crazy. And it just like Dylan was saying earlier, this is a really dark movie, but as a kid, 3 years earlier, I had seen Poltergeist, which was a horrifying, terrible movie that scarred me for life. So this seemed calm to me compared
Right.
to some of the horror movies we were also watching at that time. Most of the characters in the movie are called by, nicknames, Data, Mouth, all of that. Does anyone know what Sloth's real name was? in
No.
the
Ooh, I
movie?
do.
Oh, Dylan's got it.
It's Lotney.
Lotney Fratelli, for
Oh,
anyone
shit.
who doesn't know. Yep. And Mouth was Clark Devereaux, and Data was Richard Wang.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Richard Wang. That's
Richard Wang.
yeah,
hmm
it's obvious.
Yeah.
Okay. Just what we
Wang?
need in this movie, another Wang. Just what we
Another
need in
Wang.
this kids movie, another Wang.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
Dick Wang and
Yeah.
One-Eyed Willie.
One-Eyed Willie,
Yeah.
Dick Wang. It's fucking
Yeah,
crazy.
Yep.
And of course the statue with the penis. There's
Yeah.
a lot
Oh,
of
Okay.
penis
sure.
We'll
happening.
get into it. We'll
Yeah.
get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And another mention of a cast member that wasn't kind of listed at the beginning, Rosalita wasn't on your list, and she was a big character for me, I thought, played by Guadalupe Ontiveros, who was a American actress who was also in Selena. She
Yeah,
played
she-
Yolanda in Selena,
She murdered
and
Selena.
she was in Desperate Housewives
You
also.
Can't trust her. She's a fucking killer.
Right? Yeah, and
No pigment.
special shout out to Corey Feldman, who I am absolutely obsessed with, and I can't get enough of watching what he does throughout the years. And of course, we all know the story of him exposing what was really happening in Hollywood decades ago, and no one listened to him, and everyone
No.
thought he was crazy, and he was absolutely right. And I
Yep.
was right with him from the moment he said that, and I still follow him today, including his wonderful guitar solo
Oh my
from just
God.
recently.
I just watched that. He takes that guitar out like a 10-year-old on Christmas morning and then plays it. It's not good. Yeah, have you ever seen that interview with Jesse Sally Raphael with Corey?
I don't think so.
Oh my
no.
God, go watch it. It's from the day.
I'll go
It's
find that.
He's
Yeah.
just sober and it is fucking nuts, dude. It's nuts. Okay. So there you go, Dylan. Would you like to take us on this treasure hunt?
I would be delighted. All right. Jake Fratelli is in jail and he fakes his own suicide to break out. Mama Fratelli and Francis Fratelli are waiting outside in their Jeep ORV, and once Jake gets out, they take off with the police in hot pursuit. Our opening credits play over the chase of the Fratellis through Astoria, Oregon, that passes by each of our group of main characters on the way. Eventually, the Fratellis slip the police by joining in an off-road beach race as they drive away to their hideout. They pass the Walsh family home. Inside, Mikey is pretending he's excited to move away, but his brother Brand knows better. The Walsh family, along with every other family in the Goondocks section of Astoria, is being foreclosed on by the local country club that wants to take their homes to extend their golf course. So I want to pause here because this is a big chunk of movie at the beginning here where you get to see everyone. You get to see Data, you get to see Chunk, and you get a little piece of who these people are before the movie ever really starts. But I will say, I kind of don't really understand why all these people are being foreclosed on. Like, what happened? Like, how did that happen? Like, everybody in the neighborhood all stopped paying their mortgage at once and got in trouble. Like, I'm not quite sure if I follow how that all happened. Des, did you pick up on it?
Did I pick up on it? Okay, so there's a main plot in this movie about a bunch of little kids going to find a treasure, which is very Stranger Things, and it's awesome. Unfortunately, there's two other movies going on here, and it's so unnecessary. This whole foreclosure thing doesn't need to be here. This whole murderous family with an abused special needs child that falls in love with a fat kid doesn't need to be here. So, but let's get into it. So I love how quickly, and I'll talk about the actual setup of the movie. So I love how quickly they set up the characters in the movie. First, we get to meet your antagonists. It's the Fratellis. We see Mom as the leader, cool under pressure. She's enjoying a snack while fucking on a high-speed chase by the police, right? Her two sons, they're erratic, but they're capable criminals with a splash of bumbling bad guys. This is very similar to the Wet Bandits from Home Alone, who also had no problem killing children, right? They're looking to kill children. Coincidentally, all 4 of these characters associated with Chris Columbus, either in a writing or directing capacity. So I'm sure that
What does that say about Chris Columbus being
Right,
okay with killing kids?
Right.
He hates kids.
He hates kids. But I don't think that any of this should have been in the movie. For me, going back as an adult, I think when I remember watching this movie, I more remembered like once they got down in the caves and went on their adventure, that being the movie. I didn't remember how much fucking dialogue and how much time they spent on these subplots. So then we get this very 80s montage. This is like what I want the Goonies to be. Okay. We get every member of the Goonies archetype with a quick scene and almost zero dialogue. We know everything we need to know about these characters. And I love this style of setup. It's got a brisk pace and I'm having fun, at least in this section. Dave, what'd you think of these opening scenes?
Yes, I love the very opening where the camera takes us through the eye of the skull. That's super cool. We see Joey Pants. Can you shoot gas with a gun to light it?
I don't know.
I kind of don't think so. I think they did that on MythBusters and it doesn't work.
Nice.
I don't know. Originally, the idea was to light the gas with their counterfeit bills that they produced. But in real life, the weather wouldn't cooperate, blew the flames out, blew the fake bills away. So they had to come up with something. And I think it was actually one of the actors, either Joey or Robert, that came up with, hey, Raiders of the Lost Ark. You shoot the gas with the gun, boom, goes up. Yeah. So they went ahead with that. The slight comedy of the locked car door during the prison escape. It's a little hacky, but I will allow it.
I will not.
And introducing characters cut in with the opening chase. It's genius. Shows who each kid is right away. And check out Feldman's parachute pants and members only jacket.
And print
does
shirt.
not get much more 80s than that. And the purple rain shirt.
So good.
Yes.
So if you are ever in that position trying to escape from a prison and this is your plan, just get a Zippo. You're fine. They don't go out. Just use a Zippo. Lisa, opening scenes. What'd you think? Did it bring you back to being, 12 years old in front of that VCR?
Oh, my God, it totally did. And the funniest thing is now, something I didn't notice as a kid was how great the font was that they used for the movies, for even the character lines. That font is actually available, called the Goonies font, and you can use it on your website even now today. I didn't know that, but I learned that after rewatching this again. I do love the opening scenes. I like these characters end up being very one-dimensional because it's only a 2-hour movie, right? So you can't really get to know them very deeply. But after that beginning scene, they slipped in a few really cute little comedic moments, but you know them all already. You don't need to know anything else about them for the whole movie. They're already your friends, and you already know why they like each other, and you already know who you would be closest with and who would be your friend. Like, you already know them, which I think is great. It was great as a kid. There were a lot of really impossible coincidences throughout this whole movie. Like, of course, the gunshot lighting up and how did he make it out of the jail cell without going through any kind of security? He just walked out the front door and because he punched some old guy and he was able to just walk out the door like nobody even noticed. That was just silly.
Small town, old timey jail.
Yeah,
and the truck going into the truck race. Oh, there just happens to be a big truck race on the beach right now, right? That we're gonna drive into. I did like how perfect they did with the 80s clothes and the 80s scenery and all the rooms and the furniture and all of that. It was the 80s, so I'm sure it was easier to do that back then, but nowadays that would have been really, really hard to do. So yeah.
Lisa, you know what he should have done? The Fratelli in the beginning, after he fucking hit the guard knocked him out, he should have cut the guard's face off, right? And then hit the body and then worn his face like a mask, like in fucking Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure,
That might
kids
be-
movie.
Yeah, we during the truck race, we also get the first view. I don't know if anybody noticed, but we get the first view of the Haystack Rock formation out in the ocean,
Nice.
which is very important to the movie. It's a real place. At low tide, you can actually walk right up to those rocks and search around them for treasures in the water.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
through this whole movie, the only time we ever see it is at high tide, so it looks like it's out in the water.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I spent a year or two of my life living out in Oregon with my my grandmother, my mother's mother. She was a millionaire. We lived at the top of the fucking hill in this giant mansion. All the other kids on the street lived in like normal houses, and it was like a dead end up at the top of the mountain. And yeah, it was awesome, man. I fucking lived in this giant house. I had my own bathroom, this giant room, and fucking we were rich. And I was this poor little fucking watered down homeless rat from Boston. My mother was failing drug addict, so my grandmother was like, "I'm gonna take him away." And oh, it was just the greatest. And my mother was like, "I got my shit together, send him back to me." Back to JP I went for more horror. Okay, sorry,
Oh dear.
sorry. Oh shit.
Wow. Well, I actually wanted to pause for a second and just talk about how trope heavy it is because Lisa brought it up. You know, and you've got the brainy kid who is Asian who loves gadgets. It's like, oh, really? Like, could we have the Asian kid be the mouth for once? Like, and then you get Chunk, the fat kid, and then you like.
And he's
and then
always
you-
talking about food, and there's nothing else that he does. Yeah.
Exactly. And then of course Brand, who like literally is like working out constantly every time he like he's doing push-ups or pull-ups, like, okay, we get it. Like one thing I do not miss about the 80s is just leaning into the tropes the way they did. And you know, I would have rather mix it up a little. Like, give me a little something more than the basic tropes that we're expecting.
Wait, but were they tropes in the 80s? Because
yeah.
they were inventing the genre
They
of
were
the
already
trope.
tropes.
Were
They
they?
were already tropes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's not like they didn't invent movies in the 80s.
Right. But they really made the trope the trope.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, they like I said, they were really leaning into it, and it
Gotcha.
was just if you could subvert it a little, just a little, but it's okay. I'm forgiving it, but oof. Mouth is the first to show up at the Walsh house. Being his usual abrasive self, he pokes fun of Brand for failing his driving test. Next, Chunk arrives and tells them all about seeing the SUV being chased by cops, but no one believes him because Chunk is a bit of a storyteller. Lastly, Data arrives using one of his gadgets to fly across a space between his house and Mikey's, crashing through the screen door. Mrs. Walsh shows up, her arm in a sling, and Rosalita, a helper, is in tow. Rosalita cannot speak English, and Mouth volunteers to translate for her, but he does not tell Rosalita what Mrs. Walsh is actually saying. Instead, he tells her awful things like where she will be put in the closet if she does a bad job, and to make sure she separates the drugs in their correct drawers. Eventually, Mrs. Walsh and Rosalita leave for the grocery store, and the boys are left to their own devices, which leads them to decide to go up to the attic and look through Mr. Walsh's collection of historical Astoria ephemera upstairs. There they find a 1632 doubloon with an old treasure map. The map supposedly leads to the famous pirate One-Eyed Willie's hidden treasure somewhere near Astoria. They also find an old newspaper article about Chester Copperpot, a treasure hunter that once claimed to have unlocked the secrets to the One-Eyed Willie treasure, but went missing when searching and was never seen again. Des mentioned this to me and I totally agree. So their house is being foreclosed on and they're moving in like 2 days and there's not a single thing in a box. And that attic is jam-packed full of stuff. Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, holy shit. Like, if you're moving in 2 days, what?
Dude, it
like,
would take
you
a
don't-
month to pack that up.
Yeah, Rosalita's not going to be able to do that, just so you know.
No.
I even noticed that as a kid too. I was like, aren't they moving tomorrow? Like, like everything is still where it belongs.
Yeah, it was a little strange.
So we need to address some key points here that are wonky, all right? Let's start with the character of Mouth. He has some racy lines for a 12-year-old boy. He says, we're going to go down some brews, sniff some lace. He's 12. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Then we get this whole sex slave, heroin exposition that he delivers in Spanish to the maid. Like, what is this? Like, this is not funny kid humor. This is just fucking weird. Like, I'm sitting there watching it going, okay. Yeah, and this is my problem with Corey Haim. In just about every movie he's in, he always feels like a little boy acting like a man. And I don't like that. It's like he's 12 and he's like, yo, bro, go down. Who's Sylvester Stallone, boys, let's get some beers and we'll sniff some fucking lace. It's like you're 12. You don't even have a pubic hair yet. What are you talking about? He does this in every fucking movie. License to Drive, guilty pleasure, one of my movies that I'll watch over and over and over, but still, come on, Corey. Next, One-Eyed Willie. It's a dick. It's a dick. It's a kid's movie. What are you doing? Then we get the broken penis and they're gluing it on and it's upside down and it's my mom's favorite part. This whole section of the movie, I'm just sitting there as an adult going, what am I looking at? As far as the character of Mikey, he was obviously written to be the party pooper. Come on, guys, don't touch that. Let's not have any fun. So the character's annoying anyway. And then they give Sean Astin the job of delivering these huge exposition dumps in the movie. Like where he tells the story of One-Eyed Willie when they're up in the attic. And this is horrifyingly bad to give a child like this much fucking exposition to drop. He doesn't have the acting chops to do it. He cannot pull it off. It sounds like a little kid bumbling through a fucking movie script. I'm getting nervous. Do
you know how they did that with him? How
No.
they got him to do that? Okay, so they weren't giving the kids the scripts until almost right before they actually recorded anything. But this particular one, there was no script for it, and the director told him the story of One-Eyed Willie right before they taped it, and he had to improvise the story back. That was an improvisation.
God,
it shows.
Bad. It's so bad.
Yep.
I was just going, no.
Yeah.
So apparently there was a cut scene where they stop at a local corner convenience store to hang out for a bit. And Mikey discovers there's a map of the area that matches up with the One-Eyed Willie map. The One-Eyed Willie map. God. Pointing them to Cannon Beach for the location of the treasure. I feel like this was a very important scene to explain how Mikey honed in on the location of the giant rock. Like, why are you taking this out of the movie?
It totally was an important scene, but the problem is in that scene, because I watched it last night, Brand catches them in the store. So the whole scene where Brand catches them at the restaurant later couldn't have happened because he already caught them.
Yeah, so why not just trim that little bit down, right? And you have Brand come in after they've left and say, hey, have you seen a bunch of kids in here? And they say, yeah, we overheard them talking about ba, ba, ba. They're heading up towards ba, ba, ba. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do I have to rewrite these fucking movies? Dave, what do you got?
Yeah, poor Chunk in the truffle shuffle.
It made me uncomfortable. I felt bad for him.
It's still kind of funny though.
Yeah.
The Rube Goldberg gate opener is awesome and foreshadows the pirate booty traps.
Yes.
Booty traps.
That's what I said.
Booby traps.
That's what I said. Booby traps.
God, never stops.
However, this seems very impractical to reset every time somebody comes to your house. You need a new balloon, move the bowling ball back. It's a whole thing.
The chicken.
You gotta hope that the chicken's gonna lay an egg.
Dude,
Sure.
Imagine Chris Columbus too. He's like, I gotta get that little fat one with his shirt off. God.
So, P.S. How did Mouth get in first?
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of a delinquent. So he probably hopped the fence. I get the feeling like he was a latchkey kid. He was watching movies, R-rated movies he wasn't supposed to be watching. That's why he talked like that. Kind of a good-hearted delinquent.
Yeah.
Then they break the statue. That's my mom's most favorite piece. Slightly risque, kind of embarrassing for an 11-year-old seeing this in the theater with their mom and dad sitting right next to them. That was me. Hi.
So weird.
Is the Rosalita thing a little questionable in the 21st century? Where did they pick up this random lady who doesn't speak English to help pack up their house?
Home Depot. It's always where you go to find help like that.
Sure.
Oh, God.
The actress who played Rosalita spoke perfect English and helped with the translations for the script for when Mouth was acting as an interpreter. His Spanish translations kind of hilarious, but I see your point about going a little dark there.
Yeah.
Didn't we want to all pull off some shenanigans like this as kids?
Oh yeah.
When everybody goes up to the attic, it seemed like they really made a break for it fast. Has this been a lifelong source of mystery and intrigue for as long as they've known Mikey? Like, what the hell is up in that attic? We got to get our hands on this shit.
Oh my God.
So they get their hands on all the stuff and go crazy. What are electric plasma globes doing up there, along with the old-timey museum pieces?
No.
Those were invented in 1894 by Nikola Tesla, but popularized in the several years before the movie came out.
Yeah.
They were huge in the early 80s, however, still pretty expensive. I looked up a 1984 Sharper Image catalog.
Nice.
The small tabletop version of that was priced at $179. That's $541.89 in 2024 bucks.
Wow.
That pays the
And-
mortgage.
And why was it on?
Yeah,
Does it look great?
Just-
Right? It was just on by itself in the attic.
Two
Like,
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, what museum has their employees store unused exhibits at their house?
I think
So
they
what-
explained it. They did explain it. They said it was like unwanted stuff that, like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but
And
they
he didn't want to
address
let it see it go, so he
Yeah.
put it up in the
Yeah,
attic.
they
or
addressed
whatever,
it.
But
I
still
feel
weird.
like a lot of these things, we're better off not asking as adults,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and you're just supposed to go with the flow, and the whole thing with the foreclosing on the mortgages, just don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's also curious that the Spanish text on the map rhymes when translated into English.
Of course.
Unless Mouth is some sort of master interpreter that he can just sort of twist the translation to make it rhyme in English as well as working in Spanish.
Yeah, it's
So
bizarre.
we get to see a little of that Cyndi Lauper video, which was actually made after the movie had completed filming.
Dave, don't you actually hear the words Goonies in the song?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's called
so-
Goonies are good enough.
Yeah, so my point is, aren't they going to go, oh my God, she's talking about us, the Goonies, like when they're listening to it on MTV? Doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, I'm watching it going, is nobody going to fucking say, oh my shit, fucking Cyndi Lauper's talking about us?
She wrote a song about us.
Jesus.
They're not paying attention.
They're not. I am. It's not working. Lisa, what do you got?
Did anyone catch Corey Feldman combing his hair while he stood at the door to get in
No.
to the
Yes.
house? The little flip back. That haircut did him no good at
No,
all.
it was
Let me just say
horrifying.
that. But it was a cute little move. And as we start to meet the characters, I've picked him out as the one that I want to be my boyfriend.
Oh, God.
Because the year before I had seen Karate Kid and my entire worldview of men was broken by Johnny when I've now decided that the wrong man is the right man for me. And that's why I attach myself to Corey here too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like Johnny. Give me Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny's the best. And
Johnny's
yeah,
the best.
he
Well-
ruined my taste in men for my entire life.
Johnny's
So.
We've
So,
now
yeah.
decided that the Karate Kid is actually a story from the point of view of the bad guy.
Fuck yeah.
Ralph
Yeah.
Macchio is the bad guy.
Fuck
of that.
yeah,
bad
he
guy.
is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Little
Yeah.
prick rolls into town. and
Johnny all
starts
the way.
shit.
Johnny for life. Yeah.
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 Rolls into town and
Yeah.
starts shit.
Yeah.
Fucking Johnny had every right to kill him in that fucking
Mhm.
before fucking Miyagi saved him. They holding him up. He's
Mhm.
like, hold him up, break this fucking kid's windpipe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus.
Yep.
I don't know if that was quite the right move.
That's
but,
what
you
he was
know.
gonna do. That's what he was gonna do. Dutch is
Yeah,
like,
I
do it,
suppose.
Johnny.
Yeah.
Keep going, Lisa. Sorry.
So obviously, this is the hangout house. All the kids kind of show up at this house. Everybody back in the 80s, we had a hangout house that we all went to that,
Mhm.
whoever's parents were the coolest, that's the house that you ended up in. But I don't remember ever swearing in front of my own or anyone else's parents. So that was shocking. I think Dave mentioned that. There was no way that was going to happen. I loved all the stuff up in the attic. The tongue painting I thought was hilarious. The plasma ball being on was shocking to me. Did you notice that? I think it was Chunk that actually says, "Hey, we're the Goonies," or "We're the real Goonies." He actually says the word Goonies, and it's like he's saying the name of the movie in the movie, and it just reminds me of like Park Avenue leads to Skid Row.
Row.
Like when you say your name in the song. Yeah, no, that was
Title
weird.
drop.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't like that. The timing of finding the Chester Copperpot article was another one of those impossible like coincidences that happened. I think nobody mentioned Troy's dad and what a huge chump he was.
Troy's
Right?
dad.
He
Total
comes
dick.
up to get the papers to Bran, and if you look behind him, there's a huge Cadillac parked out in the yard. Did you see that? That was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
if you look a little further, the ocean view is a little weird. I don't know if you noticed that there's like a couple of ships out there that look
Yeah,
like
they're
they
like
don't belong.
tankers.
They're like tankers. It's like, what is the
Yeah.
tanker doing up in the, Astoria port? But it's a Steven Spielberg movie. I would have expected them to get better miniatures for that scene, but it was really obvious to me. But the most important part of this whole sequence here is that there's an editing error that I saw in the theater the first time I watched it. So when they're going up into the attic and they open the attic door, there's a weird cut and it like flips. It's like it's not quite matched up properly. And I remember seeing it when I was in the theater. And this was the first time in this movie where I said to my dad, "Look at that. That's not right." And he's going, "Shh, be quiet, be quiet." And that was there's more. I did it again later and I got shushed again. But watch it again. There's an editing error, which is shocking for a Spielberg movie to have an
Oh.
editing error.
Y-
But did you love how many scenes that Chunk had his mouth full of some kind of food, whether it was chips or whipped cream or something? Yeah.
The entire
sure.
It
thing.
was all food all the time. He can smell ice cream through freezers. I mean,
Love it. Love
was,
it.
Yeah, it was a super
We're
power.
getting
He's
to
like
that.
Scooby Doo.
Yeah, it was like, yeah. Oh, ruh-roh. Lisa, you said about a Steven Spielberg film. So obviously, Donner was the one directing it, but
Mhm.
you can feel Spielberg all over this. And
Oh,
this is
yeah.
one of those movies where they said he was on set every day, and
Mhm.
he wasn't directing some scenes. They were directing, like, Donner would do a scene and then Spielberg would do it again and be like, "Do it my
Yeah.
way." And
Yep.
Corey Feldman said that it was kind of a problem. He's like, it was very strange.
Mhm.
Set.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, he should have sat in the editing room because there's a couple problems.
And I can imagine that for a bunch of young kids too, that dynamic would be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know,
'Cause
you're a
who do you
bunch of young
listen to?
kids.
Two
This might
bosses.
Yeah.
be your first movie. You've got two bosses. One of them is telling you to do it one way. One of them is telling you to do it another way. And it almost feels like it bleeds into the final product a little. After some hemming and hawing, the boys decide to ditch Bran and go look for treasure, considering it's their last weekend in their homes, and maybe, if they find the loot, they can save the Goondocks. Trapping Bran with his own workout equipment, the boys take off on their bikes, leaving Bran with flat tires. They race towards the woods where Mikey is sure the map is telling them to go. The doubloon has some cutouts on it, and he realizes it leads to an old abandoned summer restaurant. However, the Fratellis are using it for a hideout. The boys go inside and are met by Mama Fratelli. Brandon, meanwhile, has stolen a little girl's bike and is riding after Mikey when he runs afoul of the local rich boy bully, Troy. Troy has Andy and Steph with him, and showing off for the girls, he grabs Brandon's hand and pulls him along at high speed until poor Brand flies off into the woods and Troy drives off laughing because he is a fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Chomp.
I mean, we're supposed to hate him, so I do. So I love the doubloon. I love the cutout with the rock and the restaurant.
Hell yeah.
I love all of it. My one problem is the restaurant. Basically, they say this is a summer place. You know, there's no way it should be open in the fall. You walk in there, that place hasn't been open since 1928.
Yeah.
It's like,
How are they living there with all like the cobwebs and the dust? Like it
They're-
doesn't make sense.
No, they're
it
just
was weird.
they're
It was
just-
weird. It was a
they're-
weird choice.
they're hiding out there. They don't live there. They're hiding out there.
But
They found
they're
this
obviously
place.
spending time there. I mean, Sloth is chained up in the basement. Like it's they're there. It's like
Yeah.
clean up a little.
Yeah, I mean, mouth gives us
Jeez.
mouth gives us a line saying, when was this place open last? 100 years ago or something. So I mean, they do address it.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm really wanting this fun adventure that I remembered watching to start. I'm like, oh my God, when does this fucking fun adventure start? I'm so over all these subplots. I'm wondering if we really need the Fratellis. Answer, no. All these weird scenes like Sloth being chained up in the basement, no. Mama threatening to cut out Mouse tongue, the weird opera singing, no. We don't need all this. In fact, it serves as a device to split Chunk up from the group, which is a huge mistake. As soon as he's out, I'm not having as much fun. I want him on this adventure with the guys. I think this movie is better if we get the 80s montage, right? The one we got from the beginning of the movie. It starts with that. That's the very first scene. And then it's a rainy day. They're all hanging out at the house. Let's go up and explore that fucking attic. This is where the adventure starts. They find the treasure map. We're off to the ice cream shop. We go into the caves. Let's go. That's your fucking movie, man. You don't need all this other bullshit.
I mean, there's not as much danger pushing them forward because quite literally the Fratellis, once they do get on the adventure, are literally behind them, pushing them forward.
Yeah, no
need
pressure.
Danger. The danger should be the booby traps that were set up along the way. This whole subplot sucks. Dave, tell me why I'm wrong. What do you got?
Yeah, that bike riding around town was so big in our suburban childhood,
Oh, yeah.
like you talked about. They got this right for sure. The little girl stamping her feet when Bran borrows her bike is pretty funny.
I want my bike. I want my bike.
He's dead. He's dead. He goes off the side of that mountain at 60 miles an hour on that pink bike. You're never seeing Brand again. Okay.
Yeah, I was getting to that. You're throwing off a hill on a kid's bike. That's not a couple scrapes and bruises. That's murder.
Yeah.
You know, Troy is a first class creep. I don't think it's possible to angle your car's rear view mirror to try to see up a girl's dress.
Perfect.
But somehow that worked.
No, it works.
You did the research?
I've done the research.
Okay. So, I bet these kids think the treasure will be hidden right inside the restaurant, like in a closet or something. But, I got news for you. It's not. The building's in bad shape. When Mikey is heading down the stairs to the bathroom, did anybody else notice the actual water running down the
cascading.
basement wall? Yeah, that's probably bad news for the long-term structure of the building.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we briefly meet Sloth, and Mikey shows his kindness by sliding that plate of gross fish heads and random gross food over to him.
Yeah.
Poor Sloth. I was so heartbroken.
Yeah, what are they feeding him?
I had trouble with these scenes.
I really felt bad for Sloth. Like, I was watching it and I'm like, I knew he's in the movie. I've seen it 100 times, but I forgot. And like, when you're younger, you're like,
he's a monster.
Oh, initially you're like, he's a scary monster.
Yeah.
And then eventually you're like, ho, funny guy. He's just got a funny face because you're a kid. But like watching it now, I'm like, this guy is fucking abused. Yeah. It's terrible.
Delin, you always watch with the subtitles on. Were you watching with subtitles on?
I don't think so.
Okay, so Sloth is going when the brother is teasing him with the food and singing. Sloth is going, Sloth hungry, my poor life, hungry. And it's fucking heartbreaking. It's a special needs fucking child. Fucking chained up in the basement, begging for food, being tortured. Mama fucking deformed him by dropping him on his head over. It's fucking heartbreaking. It's fucking heartbreaking. And it doesn't need to
like
be
I was
in this
so
movie.
sad.
It
made me so sad.
Lisa, what do you got?
You can't flatten bike tires that way.
No, you can't.
No, you can't.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Oh my God. I was like, that's wrong.
That doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work.
Oh,
you can't trap somebody so easily with a slinky either.
That's fucking
No.
awesome.
I did love the little scene of Rosalita when she walks in and Brand is like upside down in the chair and she's kicking the groceries like through the living room and she's going, oh yes, I see, oh yeah. I just think she's so hilarious and I love her so much.
Yeah, she's hysterical. And also, can we talk about, since you were talking about what things don't work, when Troy is driving and holding onto Brand's arm, if you look at the connection, Brand is holding onto the car very tight and Troy is like got his like little pinky holding. It's like literally Brand could have just been like,
why doesn't he punch him in the face is what I
with
want
the other
to
hand.
say. Yeah, right? You got two hands, Brand.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. I do also like Dylan, like that view of Haystack Rock and the doubloon and just it's so cool and oh my gosh, I loved everything about that. I hated Troy. I hate him so much. I like there were so many good male villains in movies around that time. I mean, you had Pretty in Pink, was it James Spader? I think it was the blonde guy. You like I said with Johnny
Blaine.
and Blaine. Oh my God, Blaine! Is that a major appliance?
It's a refrigerator.
That's so good.
Right?
That's so good.
There were fantastic villains. This guy was like a whiny little baby child, and I hated him. I had no idea why anyone would date him. I didn't like Andy that much to begin with, but I didn't know how any woman would date this guy or how he was cool or anything like that. He just looked like a whiny baby.
Yeah.
Oh, and Des, you mentioned the cutting mouth's tongue out
Yes.
with Mama in the. So
Switchblade.
ironic that you said that. The year before this movie was made, the actress who played it was Anne Ramsey, right?
Mhm.
Anne
Yes.
Ramsey had esophageal cancer
Ooh.
and had half of her tongue removed
Oh,
the
shit.
year before. And if you heard
Oh.
her lisp and like how she had that kind of drawled almost I don't know what to call it. I call it a lisp in her speech. That was from missing half of her tongue from the year before.
Yikes.
Wow.
Mhm.
And she was, do you remember her in Throw Mama from the Train?
Of course, she was
yeah.
amazing.
Like that's, I think
Yeah.
of her in that first. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Herman! Like
Yeah.
she was
It
great.
was a great casting, I think, for a villain. Her in a few
Yeah.
movies actually. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the bad guy from that movie, One Crazy Summer, with fucking Cusack.
Oh my God, yep.
Oh, he was
Mhm.
so good. Dad,
Yep.
I gotta do
There
my
were
laps.
so many good bad guys.
Yeah, there were.
Troy was not one of them,
No.
nor his father either.
And again, I
yeah.
didn't need the subplot in the movie. I didn't need Troy. I didn't need
No.
any of it. It just didn't work.
Nope.
Yeah.
Didn't need Andy either.
Yeah, honestly, you don't really need either of the girls, but I do
Mm.
appreciate that they included some women, so it wasn't just a
I did,
sausage
yeah.
fest.
Yeah,
But it-
women
you know,
that
'cause
women
it's-
want to
yeah.
make out with little kids.
Mhm.
But she didn't want to make out with the little kids.
It was an accident.
It was an
Didn't mean
accident.
to.
No, they alluded Mouth dated one of them at some point.
No.
Yes.
No, there was a thing going on with Steph and him, and she basically was like, "When you're older, you'll
Yeah.
fucking be good for a girl."
Oh,
Like she was not
Mhm.
she was not into that.
Mhm.
No.
No.
Don't be fucking coming for Steph like that.
Okay.
All right. So Bran catches up with the boys at the restaurant, and then Andy and Steph arrive as well. They end up in the basement of the restaurant and realize there's a dead guy that's been shot in the head in the freezer. When they hear the Fratellis coming, they escape down a hole in the fireplace they had found, leaving Chunk behind in the freezer. Realizing they have to leave him or all be caught themselves, they push forward. They find Chester Copperpot crushed under a boulder, realizing it was a booby trap set by One-Eyed Willie. Chester has a skull key around his neck that Mikey takes. Meanwhile, the Fratellis have found Chunk, and they're threatening to kill him if he doesn't tell them where the rest of the kids went. Under duress, Chunk spills everything bad he's done since the second grade and then tells them that Mikey and the others went looking for treasures under the restaurant. They don't believe him, of course, because nobody does. Back in the cave, a colony of bats descends on the group before bursting out of the hole in the fireplace, alerting the Fratellis that Chunk was actually telling the truth. So I know I'm covering a ton of ground here. Chunk in the freezer with the dead guy. I don't know. I felt so bad for him. You know, I'm with the stiff, and I would love to know: was that actually an actor or was that like
No.
a dummy?
That was a stunt man.
It was
That
a
was a stunt man who just stood in for that part because
Oh
they
my
did that a
God.
lot throughout the movie, actually. With the
Yeah, because I
extras.
was like, it looked like a real person. I'm like, this doesn't look like a dummy, because usually you can kind of tell a dummy, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that really, I felt so bad for Chunk. You know, he doesn't want to be left behind. And I agree with Des. I kind of wish that he had gone along with them. I think that he could have gone along with them, and the bats coming out from that hole still would have served for the Fratellis to follow.
Absolutely.
Like, I think they could have left behind the Chester Copperpot article or something like that. And the Fratellis would have been like, who was here? I can see footprints in the dust. Look at this article. What's going on? And then the bats come out and they go, we better check this out and follow, you know? So Chunk could have stayed with the group. As much as the whole laundry list of things that he did really does crack me up, but yeah.
Did you know that the other kids who were down in the caves didn't have any idea where Chunk was because they weren't receiving the scripts ahead of time, and they actually had no idea why he wasn't with the group. And you know, when he showed up later, that was when they figured out that he was actually with Sloth the whole time. They didn't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, like, we're touching on it here. I want to praise Jeff Cohen as Chunk. So he's the only one here that's actually delivering a confident performance, in my opinion.
Oh, he's great.
His confession to the Fratellis, it's fucking solid gold. I'm laughing out loud. I love this kid, you know? I felt like the other actors were really struggling with all the crazy exposition they were asked to deliver during all the subplots. But once they get down into the cave and start the actual treasure hunt, they start to feel more like real kids hanging out, and the dialogue starts to feel a little more natural. I'm having a little more fun. Like, this is what these kids needed to be given right from the beginning. They needed their scripts ahead of time. I know what Donor and fucking Spielberg were going for. They wanted this to feel organic and natural, but it didn't. It didn't. It just felt like a bunch of kids that were underprepared, fucking chopping through their lines. It just didn't fucking work at all. And people are going to say, oh, but they're 12 years old, blah, blah, blah. No, look at E.T. Children can fucking act, and you can sell this group of children to me. Like in E.T., that group of kids, like they just seemed like a group of kids anybody could have known. Perfect acting. This is fucking dog shit acting. It's terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. It's really, really bad. And Mikey, we'll get to it at the waterfall, but they double down on Mikey and his fucking over exposition that just isn't working. But like I said, once the group is down in the cave, this movie is the movie that I remembered loving as a child. And I thought there was more of this. I didn't know that there was like 20 minutes of this sprinkled into a 2-hour movie, which was a problem for me. Everyone's got their job. Everyone's working together to get them through the caves. Looks great. Indiana Jones flavor. This is what I came for when I came to watch the Goonies.
Yeah, so we got a gross fish on a rake.
Nice.
Why is there a fish on a rake except to scare the poor girls? Data finds the Fratelli's money counterfeiting equipment, which seems like either underused or unnecessary part of the story.
Right.
They don't really, hit on that too much. We talked about this a little bit, but Chunk going on a rant and then stopping because he smells ice cream. It's hilarious. and then he's calling out all the flavors of ice cream. Who makes apple or grape ice cream? I've never seen that before in my life. Maybe that's a West Coast thing. I don't know.
Never had it.
Yeah. Fratelli's have a big Three Stooges vibe going on.
Yeah.
45 minutes into the film, before the actual adventure starts. When Chunk escapes the basement and runs into the Fratellis on the road, the cinematography is great. The way they frame Jake's face in the sidecar mirror when they flip the interior light on is fantastic. However, he starts singing the opera. The second time they cut to him in the mirror, we hear him singing, but he's got a cigarette in his mouth and we don't see him singing. Slight editing goof in there.
Yeah.
We get to the water pipe scene where they find all the underground pipes, inadvertently messing with the country club people. That's cute. Of course, the toilet exploding on Troy is awesome.
Yes.
And then upon finding Chester Copperpot, Data's line, "He's dead for sure." Classic. I still quote it today.
Dude, it reminds me of fucking Groundhog Day with Chris Elliott when the truck goes off and lands and he's like, he could still be alive. Then it explodes. He goes, well, probably not now.
Yeah, Chunk's confession scene is the best. Always gets a laugh from me.
Yeah. You can actually hear Donner, the director, giggling. Yeah. Because the part when he goes down and he's got the ice cream and then they steal the spoon like out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And he goes, like you can, if you listen carefully, you can hear Donner giggling because he was just like, it was awesome.
Chunk gets all the best lines too. Like when they roll up in the middle in the dark, road and he thinks he's being rescued, I can identify them all. And, and he's fucking like, it's fucking perfect, man. It's really great.
So I didn't mention this earlier, but we see a lot of Pepsi and Domino's placements throughout the movie, which was a big thing in the 80s to do product placements. So we saw it in the opening line. We saw it in the kitchen with Brand. And now we have another Pepsi refrigerator right before they find the car with the bullet holes in it. So I don't really think they do that much anymore in
Mouth
movies.
is drinking a Pepsi.
But yeah. So it's not a big thing anymore.
Yeah, product placement.
Yeah. Yep. I liked the brown water scene when they put the water on the table and get them to drink it. That
that's water. It's wet, isn't it?
To show how much people love that movie. I was at my esthetician this morning and I told her, "Hey, we're going to talk about the Goonies today," and she was like, "Oh my god! Just 10 minutes ago we were having a discussion about microplastics in the water, and we brought up the brown water scene from the Goonies.
That's
it's
awesome.
part of daily life even now,
Yep.
how did the girls show up there at like just the right time? How did they even find them? Like
I don't know.
they just like, oh, here we are because we got away from Troy somehow, even though we were driving 50 miles an hour in a car in the opposite direction. No idea how they got there.
No idea.
Yeah, I don't either.
Makes no
Yeah.
sense.
So to comment on the costumes a little bit, so everybody's wearing the same. It's only like a 36-hour movie, right? So everybody has
Right.
just one costume, right?
Mhm.
Can we talk about Brand's shorts over the sweatpants,
Oh God.
the Crocs of the 80s? Like,
Jesus.
what was going on with that? That was horrible, just
Oh.
awful.
With the
Yeah.
headband. Oh my God.
With the headband. Oh, just yikes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cut off sweatshirt.
Oh God. Yeah.
Dude,
Sure.
how the fuck is Spielberg gonna let that air out of the tire scene go? That was like,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Because I'm
Yes.
like, no. You
doesn't
gotta
work
put
like
your
that.
fucking thumbnail on the little fucking
Yeah,
thing.
and it's hard to do if
It
you don't
is.
have like a tool to do it. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, like if you bite your fingernails,
Rant.
forget it.
Rant. Yeah. So one thing I kind of disliked was as they're approaching Chester Copperpot's skeleton, Andy has like lost her freaking mind. Okay, they've been
Yes.
in the cave for what, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
And
Maybe.
she's like lost it, like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. Like, oh my God. The only thing I like about that scene is the way that it ends is she's like, I'm gonna look like that, and it's the skeleton. It's a good timing, but
Yeah.
like, who loses their mind after 20 minutes of walking? Like, shut up. No, I didn't need any of that. So
Yeah. It was weird. It was a weird choice.
it was weird. Yeah. I did like the Guns and Ammo magazine that Troy was reading on the toilet in the country club when they were that was a nice little fitting thing. Poor Chunk, right? So he was able to cry. Did you hear how he did that?
No.
So he thought about his mother dying, and
Oh,
that's how he
no.
was able to cry in that scene, like method acting, right? Just like crazy. And the little story that he tells about the puke in the theater. So
Mhm.
if you watch the DVD, if you watch the DVD commentary, he actually says that it's just a fake made up story, which is not true. This story actually was a real-life prank played by executive producer Steven Spielberg while growing up in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, hold on,
Oh.
because I've got to tell a
Mhm.
story then. So
Mhm.
I lived in Queen Anne's Gate in Weymouth. We had an apartment there, and it was me, my friend Richie Keys, my friend John Donahue from Woburn. So John was a little bit of a chunk, and so I would do this thing where I would blow snot all over my face. I go, I'd let the snot be all over my upper lip. So
You would do or you still do?
okay, so I still do 'cause it's fun to do. So my buddy Richie Keys was going, and my friend John Donahue threw up all over the carpet. So in Queen Anne's
God.
Gate back in the 80s, they had this kind of long, like yellow shag carpet in these
Ugh.
apartments. Yeah, for real. So what did we do? We put bleach on it and bleached a huge stain in this carpet. And I got in big fucking trouble because my mother and her boyfriend lost the deposit when we moved out.
Yeah, to this day, when he does the snot thing, I go bleh, bleh, because it's disgusting.
Oh God.
Oh
What a
God! All
fucking
right.
loser.
It's more like a hooah, hooah.
Oh God. What are you guys, Al Pacino?
Oh my
There's no
God!
snot on my face.
Oh my. All right. So the Goonies find themselves in a waterfall cave full of glittering coins. They realize they're in the local wishing well when they notice that the coins are all recent. Above them, Troy is boasting to his friends about his inevitable conquest of Andy when he hears her at the bottom of the well. Scared, the Goonies decide to end their adventure and return home via the wishing well bucket until Mikey realizes that they made it further than a seasoned adventurer and he wants to see the mission out. Mikey is able to convince everyone to stay on mission to save their town with an impassioned speech that Des hates. Troy pulls up the bucket just to find his Letterman sweater that he had given to Andy. It's her breaking things off with him. Of course, he's not happy about that. Brand, Steph, and Andy are now all Goonies too. However, the Fratellis are coming, and the kids run off and across a log bridge. Data greases the bridge with his slick shoes, and the Fratellis struggle to get across. The kids then have to play a skeletal organ, and Andy, the only one who's played the piano ever, is tasked with doing so. I don't know how the fuck she figured any of it out, but okay. She struggles, and the group almost plunges to their death, but she is able to figure it out enough that they temporarily escape the ever-encroaching Fratellis. Meanwhile, Chunk has been left with Sloth, the Fratelli's youngest brother. The poor thing is deformed and abused by his family, left chained to a wall and tormented when it's time to feed him. Chunk is initially afraid, but quickly he and Sloth find common ground over a Baby Ruth bar. Now free, they follow behind Chunk's friends and Sloth's family. I hate what they did with Sloth, and because I feel so bad for him.
Mhm.
I just wish that it was a little different, but I know it was the time, and you didn't think much of it at the time, but I watch it now and it's heartbreaking.
They almost made him like a monster, not a person.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's almost like Frankenstein's monster, but
Yeah.
but worse, because this is supposedly somebody's loved one
Yeah.
that they did this to. Like, oh my God, that's fucking terrible. I love Data and his little gadgets. None of them would work. The fucking stupid slick shoes, the fucking chompers on the slingy, like none of it's gonna work. But
Pinches of peril.
But
Yeah.
it's
but
what
it's so
the-
cute. You can enjoy it as movie time fun.
It's what does work in this movie, and there should have been more of it. It should have been all that. It should have been all of these guys playing to their strengths to get them through these caves to get to the boat. That's the
Right.
movie. That's the
Yeah.
movie. So this whole wishing well scene fucking sucks, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, it breaks the spell of being underground in these underdiscovered caves by introducing the town bullies 20 feet away talking to them. I'm like, okay, great. So we're no longer in the Indiana Jones world where they're in these it's just like, it just yanks you out of the fucking fantasy. I'm like, great. So we're talking to the bullies. Terrible. Second, this fucking speech by Sean Astin, it is crap. If I'm down there with him, I am now punching him in the face. Fuck you. Okay? I fucking hated it. It's delivered
our
like
time
shit.
down here.
It's our time, and we'll all look up at the night sky, and we'll know that we're Goonies. Shut the fuck up. Now let me address this other movie that's going on simultaneously, okay? This movie where a boy befriends an abused special needs boy and rescues him from his abusive family. I like the idea, just not in the Goonies. I want Chunk Underground with these guys making me laugh. Oh, God, it's fucking terrible. This should have been a different movie. You could have flushed it out. Have you guys ever seen Tropic Thunder with
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So this could have been like Simple Jack, right? Like this is the plot for Simple Jack. There, BG Chunk. So yeah, that's what I got. Dave.
Oh dear.
Dave, what do you got? Never go full retard. There you go.
So yeah, under the wishing well, I thought Feldman's acting was great. About his wish not coming true, and you get a little sentimental there where he's like, I'm taking them back, I'm taking them all back. Fuck you.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I thought his acting was really great there. We do get a better look at Sloth, his pirate movie on TV. Provides some foreshadowing of what's going to happen later. I didn't have a problem with Mikey's speech. I thought it was, cute and inspiring.
No.
Goonies never say die.
No.
Come on.
Stop.
But overall, in this movie, I like a lot of the writing that's endlessly quotable. Follow them size fives. Come on.
Yeah.
There's some great lines in here.
Okay.
Yes. I agree.
We get another Rube Goldberg device, but this time it's a trap. And Data, his gadgets usually don't work, but this time it did work. It saved him.
Yeah.
So maybe the one time.
I like it.
So, Chunk gets on the phone with the sheriff. They have a little Easter egg there for the gremlins because they think he's making up a story.
Yep.
And, they tell him about the, creatures that you throw some water on them, don't feed them after midnight. So that was kind of cool. They just blow it off as one of the crazy stories that he made up in the past. I love the bone organ. It is so badass.
It is.
We get unfortunately, a little bad green screen though when that first piece of floor falls away.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't notice that.
yeah, the first one you can really see If you
Yeah,
go back
it's just
and
kind
look
of like
at
a
it.
weird blue thing underneath it. It's a little strange.
Yeah, and Lisa will probably talk about this because she's the keyboard player, but they talk about A sharp or B flat, and if anybody knows music theory, that's the same note.
Right. Right.
But then they just had to make the shitty joke about getting squashed in B flat.
Right.
So
Well, also my thing was I was looking at the sheet music, and when it's a chord, shouldn't there be like 3 notes versus just 1 note?
Yep, that was my second point.
Sure, right.
Okay, sorry.
That whole scene made me
Anything
so angry.
more than one note is technically a chord.
Well,
Yeah.
but they're not stacked. They're
They're not stacked. They're
They're
next to each other.
individually placed on the
Okay.
music. So I was like yelling at my dad in the theater, like, "That's the same note. They're not even chords. This isn't right." And he's going, "Shh, be quiet."
Eat some popcorn, Lisa.
I
Have a
couldn't
Pepsi.
see this. Yeah, have a Pepsi. Good one. I couldn't see the screen well enough to pick out the notation, but that would be a good project.
Well, also the scene back at the convenience store, Troy burns the map.
Yeah.
And if you look where the notes are, there's burn marks.
Mhm.
So you don't have any idea how those, you just assume, oh, that just must be the way it is. But it was actually written in that he did that. So
Yeah, I always assumed just over the years
Yeah.
something happened to it, but yeah, then you hear about the cutscene.
yeah,
Hear Mr. Jinx in the back meowing. But buddy.
he's got a lot to say. He watched the Goonies. He wasn't impressed.
Yeah, so with music theory, if you're in A and you're going down, then it's going to be in A flat. But if you're in B and you're going towards the top of the neck, then you're going to get a B sharp.
But
correct?
on a piano, it's the same note no matter what.
Right. So I'm looking at it like
Right,
a
but-
guitar player.
Yeah.
Depending on, this is kind of like inside baseball, but depending on, you're going to notate it,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
depending on the key and the direction of the notes and stuff. But
correct.
either way, it's the same note.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you
It's
got?
not important. Just fucking wing it, kids. You don't need to know all that theory. Just rock it out. Okay.
That's when I learned a lesson from my dad. He had to pull me aside after the movie and be like, "Lisa, sometimes movies are just fun." And you'll hear me say when we do the music podcast, like, sometimes music is just fun, and that's where that comes from. So
Nice. Nice.
I really liked when Steph talks about these coins are other people's wishes, they're other people's dreams. Like, I really love that. I loved that as a kid, and I was like,
Yes.
wow, because as a kid, I wouldn't have really thought about that. I would have been like, oh, it's money, but no, it's really not. So
Yeah.
yeah. And how much of a jerk is Troy again in this scene, talking about how he's going to get Andy. And the biggest costume change in the entire movie happens when she sends the letter jacket back up, and she's now technically in a new costume. But if you notice, everybody's now wet, and they're wet for the rest of the movie, which is
crazy.
horrible for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. This whole thing is crazy. Let me ask you though, didn't it take you guys out of the adventure a little bit when we're talking to the people above ground? Like, it made the world feel
didn't
very
like it.
small. It made
I
this-
didn't need Troy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wanted them to be like almost in a different world. Like they weren't connected to the world above. Like I didn't want to hear from the people.
Yes,
above,
that's what I'm
you know?
saying. It took
Yeah.
me out of the adventure. And then you're
Yeah.
thinking like it's a 10-foot deep well. Like every kid in town would have been down there stealing money.
Mhm.
Give me a
Of course.
break, man.
Yep.
Yeah. Fucking
Okay, so the movie that Sloth is watching, we'll talk about that for a second. It's 1935's Captain's Blood. It's a real movie. It made a star out of Errol Flynn and the female lead Olivia de Havilland. It's one of the all-time great pirate movies ever,
nice.
and it basically inspired movies like Pirates of the Caribbean and Count of Monte Cristo. So,
Nice. That's
Captain's
cool.
Blood, 1935.
Yeah, and
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that that's the movie that they fashioned the ship after.
Absolutely.
Was that
yeah.
movie?
Yeah,
So
it's like,
yeah, foreshadowing for sure.
yeah, the pinnacle of pirate movies, I guess. Yeah. Yep.
There's a pinnacle
So-
of pirate movies.
Pinnacle of pirate movies. Yeah.
At the Point Pleasant Police Department.
Dude, that's the best. That's
Yeah.
the best.
Yep.
Holy shit.
So I did like the bowling ball booby trap. What did you call it? The Rube
Rube
Golding?
Goldberg.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminded me a little bit of Indiana Jones. and that's
Yep.
right before they walk through the giant skull, which is the little Indiana Jones also. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
kinda-
because
yeah.
it's all the same
Mhm.
guys that made these
Sure.
movies, and
Yep, but they make it
they
really
were
obvious, though.
obsessed with the old timey adventure movies. That
The
It's
bone-
really obvious. So when Data falls, right? He falls really far. Did anybody notice this? Like he's falling for a while before he
Yeah.
figures out like, okay, where did they get the rope to climb down into that or another one of these impossibility things? How did they all make it down into the spike room without
Yeah.
dying?
No.
No.
Right?
They do it so fast.
Yeah. They're just
Yeah.
there. They're just like, and how does like Mama get down there? Like, are they climbing down a rope, 3,000 meters
Yes,
into the ground?
That's
Like,
a problem.
how
It's a
does that
problem.
happen?
It's a
Right?
problem.
Yeah.
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 Did
How
you
does
ca-
she even get across? How does she even get across the log?
Exactly. And
Like-
did you catch when she's running, they put the pig sound over her, the little snorting?
Oh, God.
Yeah. They did her wrong there. They did her wrong.
Like Annie
Yeah.
Wilkes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I did like the piano scene, despite its problems with actual music theory.
musical inaccuracies.
It's completely inaccurate. I did like the scene though. I liked the piano. I liked, that they had to play it to get through. And it was the only reason that Andy, like I always thought Andy should have gone up on the frickin' bucket and everybody else could have gone on, but
Yeah.
they needed the piano player. But they could have made Steph the piano player. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Andy could have gone up on the bucket. It would have been a better story.
I agree. There's a million ways this could have been a better story.
Yeah.
A zillion ways.
Yep. I didn't think about this as a kid though, but that's what I see now. so.
Right. All right. The Goonies are forced to take a fast-moving water slide to escape the Fratellis, and they exit into a grotto where One-Eyed Willie's ship is still moored. They climb aboard and realize everyone's been killed. They eventually find Willie in his treasure room and begin to load up on loot, only for the Fratellis to show up and demand everyone empty their pockets because they're taking all the loot. I'm really not sure how the Fratellis just walked through a door when they had to break through the ceiling, but okay.
Yeah.
After she calls Mama Fratelli a name, Mama forces Andy to walk the plank. Bran jumps in after her. The others are all threatened when Sloth shows up with Chunk and stops his family from hurting the kids. The Goonies all swim away from the ship while the Fratellis decide to loot the rest of the ship, setting off another booby trap that causes the cave to collapse. The Fratellis are also forced to flee without treasure. With the cave collapsing, Sloth holds up a rock so the kids can escape, and he gets left behind. On the beach, the authorities see the kids and alert the families who have been worried sick about their missing children. The Fratellis show up and the police pull their guns, but the kids protect Sloth. The bad guys are taken into custody, and Chunk tells Sloth he's going to live with them now. Not caring that these families just barely avoided a tragedy, Troy's dad shows up and demands that Mr. Walsh sign the foreclosure papers immediately. However, Rosalita finds Mikey's marble bag, which is full of huge jewels, and Mr. Walsh tears up the paperwork. In all the excitement, no one notices a huge galleon ship floating out to sea until the sheriff does. The kids watch Willie and his riches sail away.
Bye-bye, treasure.
Bye.
Bye. There's probably
It's fine.
$3 billion worth of stuff out there, but let's just wave goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah, fuck that. I've got some problems with this, and again, dark. Des pointed out to me. Fucking mama makes Andy walk the plank. She's got her hands tied together. She says, I can't swim with my hands tied together. Fucking
Good.
looking to drown this girl. I mean, granted, I'm not a huge fan of her, but creepy, and yeah, no problem killing kids. It's a little creepy.
Yeah, but this is where the magic happens in the movie, though. From the water slide to discovering the pirate ship, these are
It's awesome, but
Yeah.
at the same time, there's a lot of problems.
but these are the iconic scenes that I remember. These are the scenes that make this movie as big as it was. I wanted this to be like Time Bandits. Like I'm fine if you make this entire thing this like fantastic fantasy adventure with these children, basically going through this Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom thing. I'm fine. I don't need to ask any questions. It's just a fantasy adventure, but they're trying to like insert real life into fantasy, and they don't know what this movie wants to be. It's a problem. Then we get these weird scenes with the Fratellis trying to kill the Goonies. I wish it had just been the reveal of the ship with the Goonies avoiding some booby traps, finding One-Eyed Willie, and no treasure, right? But
And
they
no
realized the
octopus.
treasure is actually the memories of searching for One-Eyed Willie with their friends, with each other.
The treasure is the friends we
The
made
friends
along
we-
the way.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the treasure the friends we went all the way. And then the movie could have like ended with, like Sean Astin as an adult telling his son, like this is something that happened with me and my friends, and no, there was no treasure, but I'll never forget those times, little tear. And there's one alternate ending. You need to
Stand
go out
by
and
me.
Yeah, you need to stand by me. Oh God, Lisa, perfect. That's great acting, great storytelling. Knows exactly what it wants to be. Everything this movie isn't. But when Chunk tells Sloth he loves him and he's taking him home to live with him, I literally cried. I couldn't hold the tears back. But I was looking at the face of Chunk's parents, and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? There's
Wait a
no way
minute.
we're chaining this guy up in our basement." Okay.
Oh no!
Okay. Dave, what'd you think of the end of the movie?
Well, we arrived at the pirate ship. They find
Finally.
some cool stuff, but not treasure. And everyone sort of turns on Mikey for a second. It almost gets ugly. They find a secret door that leads to One-Eyed Willie's inner sanctum.
Nice.
And then it must not be so secret. Lynn, you touched on this for a second. Since the Fratellis instantly find them and bring them out some other door right onto the deck. So I don't know. It's got a couple doors. That old pirate movie pays off. Excuse me. When Chunk and Sloth arrive to help, director Richard Donner is one of the beach patrol guys on the ATVs at the end there. Did we see Sloth get out of the cave?
I don't remember.
Because I mean,
We didn't see the Fratellis get out either. They must have all just come out together.
he let all the kids out, and then sort of they cut away from it. So
You can see him bringing Mama Fratelli up through the water up onto the rocks. At the end.
like how did he get out? Because he was holding up the rock, but I don't know. Anyway, so during the finale, when the kids are reunited with their parents, some of the actors' real parents were present along with several crew members. After the kids are rescued, Data mentions an octopus to reporters.
Yeah.
Viewers can see it as kids exaggerating or punching up their story, but it refers to a scene which was excluded from the final theatrical cut where the kids are attacked, in fact, by a giant octopus. The effect didn't work out as well as the movie makers had hoped, although the scene was used in some TV edited versions of the film. That's, we kind of talked about that a little before, that in order to make up some of the time for cutting out the penis statue and all the other stuff, they added in the cut octopus scene, and I think they added in the convenience store scene or something like that. Also, one of the funny things is when they tear up the contract and throw it up in the air,
You can see other pieces.
Yep, you can sort of see that somebody else throws up just a random handful of paper if you look real close. So that's kind of funny. And then according to international maritime salvage law, the rights to a salvage vessel and its contents go to the person or persons who first successfully bring something off the vessel in question. So since Mikey brought the jewels off the ship, technically the Inferno and everything on it belongs to him.
Yes.
But good luck tracking it down in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh, but there's a real life story that goes along with that. Too.
Yes. And and basically, so the treasure has to be old enough to where there's no possibility of the owner still being alive. That's another caveat of that law.
Well, we see the owner is on that ship.
Yeah, well,
he's quite dead.
He's alive.
Well, I mean,
what is it that Data says? He's really dead.
He's dead for sure.
So when I lived in Key West, there was a very big thing. This man named Mel Fisher had found the Atocha Spanish galleon ship, kind of, I don't want to say close to Key West, but he was centered in Key West and he found it quite a bit away of Key West. So he found the first part of it in 1973. After 20 years of searching for the ship and losing one of his sons in a diving accident while trying to get to the ship.
Wow.
But all of the treasure then became his, and now there's the Mel Fisher Museum, and they sell, the coins and the emeralds and the gold and all of that in all of the shops down in Key West. So they estimate that the value that he was able to find and bring up out of the water was $450 million worth of gold, silver, and emeralds. But they estimate he's only found, actually brought up out of the water, half of the treasure that's on there. So how much is Willie's ship worth, do you think?
So much.
A lot.
A shitload.
A lot.
Shitload.
Yeah. A real lot.
So, Lisa, you have anything else to say about the end, or are we done?
Just that when Mikey goes up into Willie's lair, I guess we're calling it,
Ooh,
right?
this is getting
And he
creepier by the
he has
second.
like the little heartfelt talk with the skeleton and all of the
Yeah.
gruesome skeleton deaths around him, by the way. Yikes, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Yes.
knives in the eyes and all
Mm.
that was great.
Shot in the
There's a
chest.
really nice, I don't know if you noticed this, a really nice lighting effect where when the kids supposedly come up, they have candles and they have the candles like glowing on the side of his face. I really love that. I love that as a
Yeah,
kid too.
it goes from dark and all of a
Mm.
sudden it gets warm because the
Mm.
kids are all standing there with their candles.
Yeah, I love that so
Yeah.
much.
It's a
Um,
good scene.
yeah. So the jewels that were in Mouth's mouth were actually in his mouth, all of them together at once. So that was a real scene, and he actually
Wow.
did mouth all of those jewels at once. So
What if he
that's fun.
choked? What if he
I know, right?
swallowed
There was a
one?
lot in there.
Jesus,
Maybe that's why he got the role, right?
Fuck,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. So you know how the Fratelli brothers are arguing on the ship and kind of fighting each other?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the director told Mama to slap them as hard as she could during the fight. So those are real slaps that
Wow.
she's delivering to them. And if you look at it, they're pretty hard too. So she
Yeah.
is a strong lady. So
Go
yikes,
Ann.
She doesn't
right?
mess around.
She doesn't mess around. Yep. And I don't know if you noticed as the ceiling started to collapse in, the animation of the rocks falling and the splash in the water was really badly timed. I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I saw that even as a kid. I didn't like that at all.
I was
So
trying
Yeah.
to tell what Mama's tattoo
Mhm.
was on her forearm. It was red and black. I couldn't make it out.
it was
though.
like a heart, I think. Wasn't it a heart?
Didn't
Like
it say
maybe
Mama?
No.
it might have been a mom heart. Yeah.
Did it say sloth?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I only
Yeah.
dropped you on your head like 10 times. Kicked
Yeah.
you in the face.
Oh, poor sloth.
God.
And I hate that Troy's dad is on the beach when they find the kids and the kids have been missing and they bring the parents in. What's Troy's dad doing there? Trying to get his
Yeah.
papers signed? Like what? How did that happen?
Being a dick.
Yeah,
So
and that wasn't
weird.
the original ending though, to be fair. They kind of shoved him in there. So
What was the
yeah.
original ending?
So the original ending was that they found the kids and like
Yeah.
that scene kind of just ended, right?
Gotcha.
With no treasure. And then there's another scene where they're at the Walsh house and all the kids are there talking about like where they're moving to, like I'm going here, and Sloth is there and they're planning Sloth's life with Chunk. And there's a moving truck in the background and you can see Rosalita like packing stuff up. So she picks up Mikey's jacket and finds the jewels there in the later scene. So
So,
not in time to save the Goondocks, but they would have money where they were going, I guess.
well, no, they didn't do, because Troy's dad wasn't at the beach like that.
Gotcha.
They actually didn't even have that scene yet, so it kind of was like they saved
Gotcha.
it later.
so that's it. Let's recast it and do some alternate endings. I would replace Sean Astin with Henry Thomas from E.T.
Oh,
Better actor. I think he could have pulled it off. I would also like to replace Corey Feldman with Corey Haim, as he is the superior Corey. So those are my two replacements.
boo!
Yeah, I bought his molar off eBay. I still have it. I'm holding it right now. I like to hold it when I'm podcasting. So
Are you planning
What?
on cloning him?
well, no,
You
because
don't
Corey.
have his molar? What
He
are you
was-
talking about?
He was selling his hair and his teeth towards the end there.
Yes,
yeah.
he was. So
Oh
I.
my God,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah. I actually was stealing that line from Talk Radio, where he says, "I took that little gold star and I'm holding it in my hand right now." So Lynn, I'm
God
yeah,
help
I'm
me.
just
Too
go,
much coffee.
Wow.
go.
Wow. Okay, I'm going. So I know that Sean Astin was trying his hardest to do a good job here, and he was hamstrung by not having the script and able to practice it. He was hamstrung by having directors that were arguing on set about how to do scenes. So I'm giving him a pass. I'm going to say you keep Sean Astin and we replace the other Goonies with the Fellowship of the Ring. Give me my hobbits.
Lovely.
The
Bring them
Shire.
all in and have them be the other boys at that age. I'm in.
Sure. Yeah, or the kids from fucking Lisa
Stranger
said.
Things.
No,
Mhm.
from Stand By Me.
Oh, that too.
Okay.
Get a little Will Wheaton
Sure,
involved
Will
there.
Wheaton. Do it. Dave, recast it.
Okay, Anne Ramsey was great, but I'm going to go full stooge here and replace her with Papa Fratelli, Mo Howard, if he was still alive.
Fucking awesome. 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 Or Danny DeVito in drag.
Even better.
Okay. Lisa, who do you got? What do you want to change here?
I'm replacing little bitch boy whiny Troy
Yeah.
with William Zabka from Karate Kid
There it
to
is.
give them
All
a
right.
real bad boy.
There it is. There
Okay.
it is. I think she takes the prize on that one.
I like that.
Okay, and now it is time to present our alternate endings.
As if we'd end the movie like that. Yeah.
Let's do the Scooby-Doo ending.
Good call.
So I will get us started. At the end of the movie, we see the Goonies have bought the. Okay, so at the end of the movies, we see the Goonies have bought the pirate ship and opened a summer attraction, turning the boat into a successful burger ice cream stand. And everybody lives happily ever after, especially Sloth, who becomes famous from the news coverage of the incident, leading him to meet and marry Cindy Crawford, who they would go on to have 6 beautiful children with. The end.
Oh my god.
Okay, perfect.
That's awesome.
All right, Dylan, let's hear your ending you've been bragging on all week.
Okay, this is great. You're going to love this. The Fratellis show up. Sloth shows up. He knocks his brothers together and knocks them out. He knocks out his mother. He shoves them into the cannons and he jettisons them all in the cannons. That's what breaks the wall. The kids stay on the ship. They pilot the thing out, right? So they're on the ship waving at their families. Hey, look what we found. And then Mikey takes it and turns it so that the ship collides with Troy's dad's yacht.
Yes.
And it breaks into a million pieces as Troy's dad has a little tear running down his cheek. The end.
Yes.
All right, nice,
That's
nice,
fantastic.
nice. Dave, rewrite it.
Okay, so Rosalita finds the jewels, but she doesn't say anything right away.
Rosalita, no!
She quits her job abruptly and disappears. On the good side, a mysterious benefactor has paid off all the Goonie homes, and somehow the country club has new ownership, and all the kids get summer jobs there.
Oh, and the new
And then
golf-
it's like Caddyshack.
I was going to say the new golf course is called Rosalita's. It's perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's very good. Very creative. Lisa, take us out with your new ending.
Okay, this was hard because it's a kids movie and I feel like it still needs a happy ending, right?
Yeah.
But back in the day, when we ended movies, we ended movies. We didn't think about what was coming next. The story ended and that was it, right?
Right.
Okay, so new story. One-Eyed Willie comes alive
Nice.
and takes the Fratellis captive to rebuild his crew on the ship, which, because he murdered his crew, so he has a new ship, setting up the next sequel where Willie and the crew have the gems and they need to go and now have a big fight to get the ship back.
It's like the Pirates
So.
of the Caribbean.
Like the Pirates of the Caribbean. Yes.
Very
I'm in.
creative. Very
Mhm.
I like
creative,
it.
everybody.
Yep.
There wasn't a Goonies 2, but there was a video game called The Goonies 2, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that was
There was a
confusing.
script for Goonies 2, though. And
Oh.
it was supposed to be about the kids having another adventure. And then they said they would never find a crop of kids like that again.
Dude,
And they
so-
never filmed it.
So that is perfect for the first ending I gave you, where Mikey is telling the
Mhm.
story to his son about the
Yes.
adventure they went on, and then he could have
Yep.
gone on another adventure.
Yep.
There it is. Number 2.
There was also an April Fool's joke very recently, maybe even this past year, where they said that the Curse of One-Eyed Willie was going to come out in 2026, and the poster, I think you found the poster, Dave, where
Did I don't remember
the
that.
the skeletal piano had like a walking almost like they made it into a museum and had like a glass walk around it.
I saw it was a tweet by Adam Goldberg, who does the TV show The Goldbergs, and apparently he had a meeting, trying to pitch a Goonies 2, and he put out this was like during the pandemic was supposed to be when he was having the meeting, and then they finally did a Zoom meeting like later that year, and apparently he had some sort of treatment for it, but he posted on Twitter basically a concept art that had the bone organ, but all around it was, um, glass walls and railings and stuff like that. Like they had made the whole adventure and One-Eyed Willie's ship into sort of a Pirates of the Caribbean theme park ride,
Like an
essentially.
attraction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
I'm assuming that's what that meant, but yeah, they had a couple of ideas for scripts, but apparently nobody was completely happy with it. So especially the with the original director having passed away a couple of years ago, they say it's not looking good.
Yeah, this
I'm
movie.
kind of glad.
Yeah, it
I'm
doesn't
glad
need
it's
a.
not looking
This
good.
does
Yeah.
not need a reboot, in my opinion.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone. All right, let's do some final thoughts. We will score it and log it on the list. So this movie did not hold up to my memory of it at all. The child actors struggled to deliver their lines, and it was terrible. I knew they were young, but like I said, look at E.T., how good the acting was. Equally young actors. This is a problem, and I blame it on Spielberg and Donner. They did not set these kids up to succeed. The story suffered. So I am going to give this 2.26. I mean, it's a
Wow.
little below average. I could never watch it again. This one is one that I won't even leave on if it's on. It's just not, it didn't work. It didn't work for me. Dylan, go ahead.
I'm not going quite as hard on it as you're gonna do. Did it get me to cry? Yep, I cried.
Yeah.
And whether that's nostalgia or something else, I don't really know. You are absolutely right. The kids were struggling with a lot of these big moments. And like I said earlier, I feel like that is not their fault. I think it was more the production and what was going on behind the scenes. I am going to ding it a little because there's definitely some things that I have some issues with, but I'm going to give it a 3.623.
Oof, okay. Dave, what you think?
Well, I think we're looking at this with adult eyes. This is meant for kids or just pre-teenagers. We have to look back to when we were 10, 11, 12 years old, and remember that and keep that in mind, and suspend our practical questions about, oh, what happened to this, and why did this guy do this, and it's just you're not supposed to think about that. It's just a fun thing, and just sort of just give in to the adventure. I love the movie. I had the souvenir magazine and everything like that I probably bought at the theater when I saw the movie, and I can't remember if I sold it on eBay or if I have it in a junk box somewhere.
Nice.
But it was awesome. But yeah, my score is 4.6. Goonies never say die.
Holy shit. Oh my God. Oh my God. But Lisa's score, this thing is going to be improperly fucking placed on the list. I can tell. Quickly, Dave, did you ever see Brain Scan
I have not.
with Edward Furlong and the Trickster? Okay.
No.
You need to check that out. Lisa, go ahead. Score this thing.
Okay, so my last rewatch of this before I did this one was only a year ago. So I watched this movie a lot, even as an adult. I did do some pretty deep examination of the movie this time. And yeah, I see its faults, but I still love it. The child acting honestly didn't bother me too much, with the exception of the two speeches by Sean Astin, the One-Eyed Willie speech and the waterfall speech. I didn't like either of those, even as a kid. So I'm dinging it for that for sure. But it's a fun movie. I have fond memories of it. It reminds me of my dad still. I am dinging it a little bit for the Troy character. I feel like he could have been a true bad guy and not just a whiny kid. And I feel like Andy should have been more of a mean girl and not like just whatever she was, the damsel in distress that they tried to make her. So those are my dings for it, and I'm giving it a 4.5.
4.5. So out of 100 plus movies, Dylan, what's the score and where does it land?
So the score comes out to 3.74575. And let me look at, oh, God, that's Jinx. Sorry.
Nice.
He's knocking shit
He does
over.
not agree with you.
Dude,
See?
he is a
Crap
fucking
over.
little house lion,
He's mad because there were no pets in this movie.
little house
Yes.
tiger. No, they had sloth.
Vinny.
sorry.
Ouch.
Wah, wah.
No.
Okay.
No. Okay, so 3.74. So it is a standalone at number 45.
Mid-packer.
And that is right underneath The Departed
Oh, yeah.
and An Officer and a Gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
And right above My Cousin Vinny.
No, this is not better than My Cousin Vinny. I'm sorry. This isn't even in the same universe as My Cousin Vinny, but okay. Oh, it's fun. All right. So we will be back next week where we will be talking about T2, Terminator 2, and we will be breaking that down with Pat and his giant bong full of stinky marijuana.
It's very specific.
Yes. We broke down Faster Pussycat's debut album, Faster Pussycat, on Violent Vinyl this week. So I suggest you go over there and check that out. We will be back in 2 weeks with Violent Vinyl, where we will be breaking down 9 Inch Nails' Pretty Little Love Machine.
No.
No. Yikes.
Lisa,
Pretty
what do we...
Hate Machine, you goon.
I was mixing it up with the cult. Sorry. Okay. Love Removal Machine. Who knows? Yeah.
Oh, dear.
So that's it. Lisa, thanks for joining the show. Appreciate it. You're welcome to come back with Dave anytime. And in fact, if you guys want to choose movies to do together, you're more than welcome to come.
Absolutely.
You know, because
Thank
that's
you
a
so
blast.
much for having me. I had a blast,
Yeah.
especially with one of my top movies of all time.
awesome.
Thanks for having us.
So
Just you wait till we do a movie that you hate, because that's even more
Yeah.
fun.
Exactly. I need to disagree with you guys. That's what needs to happen.
So until next time, I just have one question for you, and that is, hey, did you ever see that movie? See you next time.